Good day again, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of our series on practical management applications. You know, we live in this remote control society where we quickly move on to the next thing if we're not too interested. That is why I said in the first video that we have short attention spans and we have to do things quickly. So I will be like Jack. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. And today we're only going to talk about the organization structure. Now, there are three types of organizations that we can get. The first one is a pioneer type of organization where the owner is the head of the organization. There's no structure to it. People don't have formal job descriptions. They do what comes along. And the second is the integrated or the functional organization, which is the one that you see on the board behind me, and that's where most formal organizations are. Once they have progressed into functionality from the pioneer phase, or when you start up a new venture, like I have been privileged to do in 2 occasions, starting new companies, you already start off with a functional or specific type of organization. There's a third type called the integrated organization, and in the fourth economy we're now moving towards that, because that involves the closeness and the consideration of the resources that organizations employ. I'm not going to talk too much about all the other stuff. I want to concentrate on functional organizations because that's where most people work and live in. Now, functional organizations have certain features. The first feature is that there is a division of work. We've already said when we looked at vision, mission, goals, objectives, action plans, which resulted in this, there's a division of work. You cannot be everything to everybody, and we go to more and more specialization as we progress. So where's the division of work here? There, and on all levels we find there's a division of work, because that helps the organization to focus and it helps it to become more productive. There is a rule in management that says structure follows your strategy and your systems follow your structure. The strategy we haven't spoken about, and maybe we can do that a bit later, but where we talk about the vision, where we're going, the mission, what must we do to get there, in between those two we get strategy, organizational strategy, which says, but how are we going to do it? There are different avenues open to us most times on how we're going to get to our vision eventually. And those strategies are really important. If you choose the wrong strategy, your organization cannot run like Usain Bolt. You're going to sort of hobble along. So you must pick the right strategy. And operational strategies now come in at sort of this level here, there. So once the operational strategies are the things that says this is our organization, this is our structure, these are the things that we are going to use in our productive processes, the systems, the equipment, and so forth. How are we going to best make use of them? And we of course need to stay on top of developments in the field, and sometimes do little tweaks to your strategy just to ensure that you still remain relevant and your organization survives, because the main objective of strategy is survival, the survival of your organization. So here's the division of work, and in general terms, this is a more democratic type of organization than the pioneer organization, because in the pioneer organization the boss is this person that started up the business, and what the boss says goes, and everybody in the organization has to follow. there may be discussion. Not everybody has the same sort of approach to how they do things in organizations, even pioneer organizations. But this organization, the functional or differentiated organization, actually is usually more democratic, because supposedly people have to have a say in what's going to happen in the organization. There should be open communication. People can bring forward ideas on what they think will improve productivity in the organization, etc. It doesn't always happen, but that's what it's supposed to do. It is a more productive type of organization because you're specializing. The different functions hopefully employs specialists in each one of these functions. They don't always do that, and we have seen a lot of disasters because the wrong people get placed into the organization for various reasons. Nepotism is one, and there are some other factors also, which I don't want to go into now. There's always external control in a type of organization like this. Usually these are private organizations. They may not just be private organizations, they can be also state organizations, state departments, and so on. There's always external control. Private organizations usually have a board of directors, and the board of directors' job is to oversee the management of this organization or company that they are board members of. Things, in my opinion, have gone a bit awry because nowadays it seems that boards also want to be hands-on in the management of the organization, which I think is a really bad idea. You should leave management to the managers that you've appointed, and if they've done wrong, you wrap them over the knuckles. But don't get involved in the management of the organization per se. The board has an oversight role, not a management role per se in the organization. So there's external control always. You have to pay attention to human relations in an organization like this because you have a lot of people that are involved in this. This type of organization implies that we have different functions, different special areas, different specialists working here, and people, if you're in a manufacturing concern, you will know that there are people at various levels in the organization, and some organizations have thousands of employees, and you have to pay attention to the human relations system, because that's where your organization's culture and your organization's climate is really seen at work. The climate comes from how people perceive the organization and how things are done. The climate usually reflects what the top management wants the organization to project to the outside world. But we'll talk about that later also. It's usually a more secure environment than the pioneer type organization. Pioneer organizations are really delivered onto the whims and things like that of their clients. And in this type of organization, you would usually not structure an organization unless your market is sorted out and you have products that you've now actually established and are marketing either just locally or even internationally. And the one thing that we do know about this type of organization is that it has an anonymous market. You don't know all the people that you're providing services to. You know some of them, but not all of them. It's usually an anonymous market. Unlike the pioneer organization, where usually you know all your clients, you know what they want, they have specific needs that they come and talk to you about, etc. But in this type of organization, your market is usually an anonymous market. The problems for an organization like this is that this complexity, all the different specialities and functions, that are grouped into the structure becomes difficult to manage, especially for the people in the higher echelons, because you can't be all things to all men or women. But what's really important when we come and talk about leadership at the next video is that the people that are here, or especially the person on top, must reflect what the business is about. Otherwise you'll have a lot of problems in problem solving and decision making. But it becomes very difficult if you have an engineer there and you have human resource people here and finance people there and IT people there and so on. It becomes difficult to grasp everything that they are trying to achieve. So the complexity can become a problem. It depends on how skillful you are as a manager. The separation, people work in different compartments and they don't always talk to each other. In fact, they very seldom talk to each other. And this can lead to a lot of disconnect because communication becomes a problem in a type of organization like this. This separation and compartmentalization causes communication problems. Also, if you do not pay enough attention to making people understand your vision and mission, people will not be as motivated. Generally, the levels of motivations are low in this type of organization. Now, what I can say about this organization in terms of its strengths, it's the best structure for a stable environment. Now, people will say, well, the environment's never stable, things change all the time. But once you've sorted out your business and you've sorted out your market, usually you operate within a stable system as far as stability can go. If you're mining gold, you will still mine gold in the next decade unless somebody finds an alternative for gold, but I don't think so. You will still be around in the next decade. So in that sense, it's a stable environment. There's a home for technical specialists here. Because of the specialization, you can pick people that are specialists in their field. And they had better be specialists in their field if you need them in the structure, because you cannot be a jack of all trades, and that makes you a master of none. And you will not have a productive organization. You will not progress as well as you should. It supports the development of skills. What organizations like this usually do is they want to get their people to perform top-notch. And to perform top-notch means that the jobs must be structured properly, and people must be trained to do those jobs as best as they can. And if there is a new development in their field, they must keep up to date with that. So it will usually support the development of skills. The weakness of organizations like this is, firstly, especially if it's a bureaucratic organization, there's a slow response time. Especially if decision making is centralized at the top of the organization. Some organizations are a bit paranoid. They seem that they don't trust the people that they've appointed, so they want to take all the decisions at the top of the organization, which slows the response time and is really bad for productivity, because you cannot give people responsibility and authority and then still say, but you only have a limited authority. Any major thing that you want to do, you must refer it higher up in the organization. And that can lead to a lot of loss of productivity and frustrates people in the end if you're not careful. What then happens is that the decisions will pile up at the top of the organization, and the top managers of the organization are very busy. You never see them because they're sitting in their offices and they attend all these meetings, and most meetings are a waste of time. I think I've said that before. But meetings are necessary, because you need to resolve certain issues, but the real work is really after the meeting when you start implementing. So it's a really bad thing, I think, for organizations when the top management are never seen in the organization. My own yardstick for good management is that a manager must only spend about 50% of his time in his own office. The rest of the time they must be out there amongst their people and see how they can facilitate their staff's optimal productivity. There is usually very poor coordination between the different functions. We can talk about that a bit later, but inter-unit coordination becomes a problem in an organization like this, and especially organizations that are multinational, it becomes even worse. Everybody does not always consider the effect of their decisions on other units in the organization. There also tends to be less innovation. Now, innovation, we can see our new society, the fourth economy, requires a lot of innovation. Things are moving faster and faster and faster, and you have to keep up with creativity to ensure that you still remain relevant. Today, if you want to stay in the same place, you have to run like hell. And then you'll stay in the same place. If you do not run, you will slide backwards. But it's good organization structure, and once you've thought it out properly, you manage it properly, you take care of your communication, you take care of the motivation of your people, which we will come to a bit later, then this is a good structure. What you must not do is you must not insert somebody between the top person and the rest of the people, because you sometimes get these one-on-one type of organizations. Really bad, really bad. Usually the motivation is, yeah, but the top person, the CEO, is too busy to handle everything, so we must give that person some assistance. Not a deputy CEO below the CEO, because now you have two people that these people all have to report to, and they don't always see eye to eye, which causes a lot of problems. But maybe we can talk about that later. Thanks very much for looking at the video. Hope to see you again in the next video. Alles van die beste.